When I teach my dovetailing courses, one of the things that people struggle with is seeing the knife lines and the base lines. So a good starting point, first of all, is to have good light. So one of these adjustable lamps is very good because you can get that straight above the work, and you can also tilt it, and it creates light, but it can also create shadows which can help you see the lines. The second thing, which amazes me how many people forget, is if you need glasses for reading, then for Christ's sake put your glasses on to cut dovetails, as I do. Now, when I was taught to cut dovetails many years ago, one of the techniques they were shown there was the use of chalk to see your knife lines. So here I've marked some pins out, and if you just rub chalk in there, then when you smooth that away, you can quite clearly see your lines. Now, although that's helpful, one of the things that I very quickly found with this technique is, particularly on dark timbers, is if you don't get every tiny last bit of chalk out of the end grain, which means quite a lot of planing, then when you come to apply the finish, these little white speckles show up. So although that's the traditional method, for me, I've found something that I think is a lot easier to work with. Masking tape. So if we take our tailboard and then put some tape on one side and just trim that up, and same on the other side. Just trim that up. Then when we come to put our gauge line on, you can just simply run that along. Probably a good idea to run it 2 or 3 times, and then the same on the other side. And then if you just simply pull the tape, and then you'll know exactly where your baseline is. So when you're cutting your dovetails, it's very, very easy to see how far you go and not to go too far. Now, equally, this same technique can be used on the pin board. Now, it can be used just the same way. On there. Trim that up, and again you can use this for your baseline. A couple of marks, and then just peel that off. And again, you can see quite clearly for your pins how far to cut downwards. But it's also useful for the pins is if we tape across the end grain. Now, with the taping of the end grain and the taping for the baseline, if we did the end grain first and then came to use our guide, then the line would actually be a little bit higher than it needs to be. So if you're going to use the baseline technique as well as the pin technique, then you need to do this first and then that. So again, in the same way, we'll just trim this up all the way around. And then what we can do is to take our dovetail alignment board, put the pin board in there as normal, take the tail board, run that up, and then just simply mark out the pins. Nice firm pressure. And then what we can simply do is to remove the tape between the pins. And there we go. So for people that can't see where to place the saw when it comes to cutting the pins, you can see clearly exactly where to place it. And the other advantage of that is it clearly marks which piece you want to cut out and which piece you leave. So you definitely leave the blue bits. And then the baseline clearly marked along there. So for those of you struggling to see your lines, number one, get a good light. Number two, make sure you can see as well as you can. And if you're still struggling, then the blue tape technique could really work for you.